So over the last little bit, as I've driven around, like, where I live, kind of a very rural area, and also done a few different other jobs, gone on trips up to even more, like, rural areas, more isolated areas where I don't even have phone signal. I've noticed something interesting in the last little bit. So for the longest time, getting rural internet used to be a pain, and having especially quality high-speed internet was even worse. So even my dad had to deal with really bad internet when he's been overseas with the military, because you've got limited options in the internet service that you were able to get, and it's a lot the same way when you're in a rural area. A lot of times, depending on your living situation, if you're too far from the road, certain ISPs won't come and bring you service to cable you up. There are other situations where you have a wireless service provider, and that's all you can get, because every wireless service provider has this turf agreement to where they won't go or will go. Because I remember for quite a bit, my family was looking at getting Digis for our internet service because they were supposed to be high speed and this, that, and the other. But even though it's wireless, Digis had an agreement that they would not go into a certain area because they had an agreement with another company or other companies that they wouldn't do that if this other company wouldn't reach into their turf. So our wireless broadband options were very, very limited because of that. And even then, we were stuck with one or two services. Now, the first one we got was pretty good. The nice thing is the guy that was the kind of tech that covered the area was pretty good about making sure that we were getting the service that we paid for. The problem that we ran into is, after a bit, he ran into some issues, and the company got rid of him because he was going to cost too much for some medical issues that he was having on the insurance and all that, and we lost service quality. We had one other option that popped up at around that time, and so we went with that. And this particular company, they did okay. We had better speeds than before. But then as new subdivisions got put in, more people in those subdivisions were getting wireless broadband through this company, as well as a couple others. And they were all pointing at the same tower. The problem that we ran into is the company said, we won't ever oversell our service. You'll get the reliable service that you're paying for. And then as time went on, come to find out they were overselling the space that they had on the tower. Just like the banks oversell the dollars that they do in order to loan you money. So we ended up having degraded service again, particularly on certain weekends, like you're talking Super Bowl weekend, General Conference weekend. Those are basically the weekends where our service was absolute dog water, and it sucked. So when we've called in to ask about it, there was at one point they sent out a tech to upgrade our dish. It's like, okay, we're getting a little bit better service, and then it dropped again. And called in another time, and it's like, well, if you're getting at least 30% of what you're supposed to be getting, then that's okay. And that kind of saying that kind of a thing when I'm paying for something, if I paid 30% of my bill because I only got 30% of the service I was paying for, they would be mad, and it wouldn't be okay with them, but they weren't fulfilling their full end of the deal. So come a little bit later on, and Elon talks about Starlink and starts putting Starlink up, starts throwing satellites in the air, and it's like, you know what, I think this is finally our chance to get some good service, internet service. You have to keep in mind that at the time, with the second internet service provider, I was streaming and had some days were really, really spotty on how good my connection was, just with the Twitch servers. And then later on, I would be uploading videos to YouTube regularly, and that was like, took half the day to do just to upload a single video to YouTube, just about. So it kind of became a headache, but I kept going through it. But as Starlink started rolling out and it got closer to us, it's like, hey, we should really look at doing this, see if we have a chance. And so we signed up for the waiting list, and we were basically one of the first ones in our area to get Starlink. For the longest time, we were about the only dish in our cell of Starlink service when it like first came to our area. And it was great. Like, the download speeds for Steam, the upload speeds to YouTube were absolutely awesome. And they are still actually pretty good. I don't have to sit for 6 hours waiting on a video, or, well, probably closer to 4 hours, waiting for a video to upload anymore. And I'm probably taking a full hour total to render the video, prep the description in the process, prep a thumbnail, and upload the video to 4 different sites, generally. Even till today. What was interesting is the previous internet service provider we had, we got the Starlink, we set it up, we connected it up, and we kind of kept the other one for about a week or two until the month was over of service. And then we're like, okay, we want to get rid of it. And the tech that came to remove the satellite said, basically, it's like, okay, yeah, cool, whatever. He took the equipment, he's like, I'm going to leave like this mount for the dish so that when you come back to us, because your Starlink service wasn't that great, it'll already be here. That was about 4 years ago that happened, and we haven't gone back or looked back since, because I'm able to download a multi-gigabyte Steam game, like we're talking 100 gig Steam game, within an hour, and it doesn't take all day. Unlike with them, it took like probably half the day to download a 10 gigabyte game on Steam. So, needless to say, we haven't really looked back since, and the option of upgrading has been kind of looking nice, and I'm actually looking at getting a Starlink Mini. So, the big reason why I tell this story is the fact that, as I mentioned earlier before telling it, is as I've gone around to different remote and rural areas that I have absolutely no phone service at all, I've seen a lot more Starlink dishes. I've seen a lot more pop up around my place and in some of the regular routes that I take, to the point that it's like everybody's ditching a lot of people are ditching their wireless service provider and just getting Starlink. Like, just a few days ago, I went up into Idaho, into one of these more rural areas for a Starlink survey, and they were just trying to get something that would improve their internet speeds, and they'd already installed one Starlink previously. I was just I was the tech being tasked through the company that they go through to do the survey, and then probably eventually do the install itself. But this is like an area with somewhat limited cell service. I had pretty good cell service there, but whatever internet service provider they had just was not cutting it. And I mean, it's sad to say, because I actually looked at the tags in their IT room, their server rack, and I noticed the company name, and I come to find out I know the founder of that particular company, and it kind of halfway makes sense, being as you're kind of reaching up into an area where it might be less coverage, but still. And it's supposed to be pretty good coverage, coming from the story that I heard about how he started it. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Even in some areas, like up toward, where was it? You go up toward Grace, Idaho, and some of those areas around there, along the Oneida River, where there's like no cell service at all. And I've been in these areas, which is why I like having offline music on my stuff, because where I drive, I don't always have the best internet connection. But Starlink, people have Starlink dishes in those areas that have absolutely no cell service. And that's pretty wild. So, and even at campsites, I've been on campsites with family, and one of my uncles has a Starlink dish, one of the version 1s, and they get internet there with the Starlink, and I've seen other campers at the campsite with it. Of course, you've got the roaming package. Like I said, I'm looking at getting the Starlink Mini myself, more for business reasons, because then I can get a more reliable internet wherever I'm at to be able to do and process paperwork or online forms, what have you, that I may need to do. But the fact that Starlink came along and changed the game of rural high-speed internet before the government could even get around to it, and the government's been talking about it for decades, is kind of a testament to just the overall gumption of people just wanting to do things and not waiting on some other bureaucracy to do it for them. And I find that pretty cool. It solves a problem that a lot of people have, and Starlink is making good money off of it for good reasons. To the point that some people in Brazil went up onto a mountaintop and had a LAN party using Starlink, honestly. If you liked the content, if you enjoyed it, if you think I deserve it, like, comment, subscribe, leave any criticisms you have or what have you. I appreciate it. Feed that algorithm, like I said, and I will see you guys in the next one.